In this episode, we talk about our high-yielding paddy seeds illegally making their way to Pakistan. We also talk about BJP's Meerut candidate Arun Govil, the actor who was the lead in Ramanand Sagar's Ramayan. But first, we talk about Congress workers and leaders abandoning the party to join BJP. Hi, I am Niharika Nanda, and you are listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. At a time when the grand old party finds itself under investigation by tax authorities, with claims that its bank accounts are frozen and facing dismal prospects in the upcoming Lok Sabha elections, several of its members are now jumping ship and joining the ruling party. Nowhere is this more evident than in Madhya Pradesh, where more than 16,000 Congress workers have now joined the BJP. In this segment, my colleague Shashank Bhargava speaks to Indian Express's Anand Mohan about this mass exodus and what it means for the party.
Anand, tell us how many Congress leaders have now quit and joined the BJP in Madhya Pradesh?
So Shashank, from the past 2 months, the BJP has been inducting Congress leaders. Scores of them have joined the BJP, and the ruling party has told us that over 16,000 leaders have so far switched over to the BJP, and this is being done by the new joining committee, which is headed by the former State Home Minister Narottam Mishra. And the BJP has been going all out to ensure that they lay down a bridge which the Congress party leaders can use to cross over to the BJP.
Right, and 16,000 is a big number. Is this happening across party ranks?
So from a former union minister to a sitting mayor to at least 9 ex-MLAs as of today to, booth level workers to general secretaries to Mahila Morcha members, it's across the board. So people are quitting the Congress. In fact, I sort of looked at the BJP panel's data, and we've so far seen defections in 34 of the state's 55 districts. And a majority of these workers had left from the BJP citadels of Shahjapur, Narmadapuram and Vidisha. These are regions where the BJP has been comfortably winning in the past 15 years, and the Congress has been completely wiped out their district organization in these parts. What is really worrying for Congress is the over 2,000 leaders that the BJP claims to have inducted in Chhindwara. Now, Chhindwara is the bastion of former Chief Minister Kamal Nath. And the booth level workers are going to be crucial for Kamal Nath's son Nakul Nath to win the upcoming Lok Sabha elections. And as we speak, this mass defection is underway.
And Anand, what is the reason we assess this is happening? Is it that they find the state of the Congress and MP very dismal, or that they find the BJP's prospects more attractive?
So, you see, one of the main reasons is because most of these leaders have read the tea leaves. I've spoken to ex-MLAs and sarpanches and booth party workers who've left the Congress party. And they tell me that, that there were serious political miscalculations that the Congress party has made. And primary among them is the boycott of the Ram Mandir consecration ceremony. So, Madhya Pradesh is a socially conservative state. And there are large parts of the state, especially in the Malwa-Nimar region with its 66 assembly seats. It's a very politically crucial region. In this region, you have a set of voters who tend to be socially conservative. And for them, Ram Mandir is a very emotive issue. And for the BJP, the Ram Mandir event is sort of like a huge boost for their campaign. And they've tried to sell the idea of development, and the crowning jewel of it is the Ram Mandir, as we know. So many of the lower level leaders are of the view that, that because of the stand, they're going to end up being wiped out in the Hindi heartland. In fact, if you look at the ex-MLAs and the former Union Minister, Mr. Suresh Pachore, and all of these people who've left, you'd notice that many of them come from the Brahmin community, right? And they've sort of seen in the assembly elections, most of their vote bank sort of switch completely in favor of the BJP. Now, after the Ram Mandir movement, they were of the view that in the future, it's going to be extremely difficult, a political career in the Congress party, because the upper caste voters are now decisively with the BJP.
Okay, so one big factor is the boycott of the Ram Mandir consecration. And like you said, they've read the tea leaves in that sense, and so they're trying to jump ship. Plus, since Congress is also planning to make some major changes in the state, a lot of people who thought they won't get the ticket this time, they've also gone to the BJP. But besides this, are there also other reasons this is happening?
So apart from that, if you speak to a booth level worker, people who really want to do politics, there's just the Congress party for the past 10, 15 years has sort of like lost its way in the state, and they had their hopes high up in 2018 when the Congress party won, but then they couldn't sustain that government. And so they're of the view that, that they want a party which gives them a proper post and that they're able to work and then they're able to see benefits of that work, that they're finally rewarded and they get to win someday, and the chances of winning under the Congress party in the Hindi heartland seems to be dim because of these factors.
Okay, so in that sense, two things stand out. One is the dismal prospect of the Congress coming back to power in the state and the disconnect between the central leadership and the state leaders, which is actually a problem that Congress has had for some time, right?
Yeah, that is true that the Congress party has been facing some serious issues because of which it is unable to convince the voters to give it a chance, especially in the Hindi heartland. But what is sort of different this time is that this time the party is in a serious danger of losing a substantial chunk of its workers. So the BJP is going to start this process of, inducting Congress leaders onto a booth level this time. They're going to decentralize it and they've already begun that process after Holi. And there are around 60,000 booths in the state. So the aim is that even if you can get 2 leaders per booth, you are basically going to leave with 1.2 lakh Congress booth level workers. Now that is a substantial chunk of workers who are going to leave the party. It is going to completely demoralize people. There is a fear in the Congress party that will this start a stampede of sorts,
Right, and in this regard, you spoke to some Congress leaders. Are they doing anything about this?
So the Congress party is sort of like trying to exude a little confidence. I spoke to the senior leaders of the Congress party and they say that, that they have like over 90 lakh leaders in their official roles. They keep citing different figures, but they're very confident that they have substantial number of people in their party and that the Congress party will always continue to exist. Whereas the BJP has very seriously undertaken a mission of a Congress Mukt Madhya Pradesh. They want to set Madhya Pradesh as a laboratory, as a example that can be followed in other states of how to destroy the Congress party organization. You see, if you just look at the response of the Congress party, many of them say that this is a purification campaign, good riddance. This is the garbage and filth of the Congress party, opportunist, greedy leaders who are like leaving their party, good riddance, let them go and join the BJP. But you cannot run a political party without your workers. For example, if in Narmadapuram and Vidisha, if the sitting district president is sort of like leaving his post with a huge chunk of youth leaders, so then where are you going to get your booth level workers who are going to work, in every single booth to ensure that you win an election? So you're going to lose a substantial chunk of leaders and it's going to be extremely difficult to rejuvenate your organization. The Congress party has anyways been unable to rejuvenate its organization in the past 15 years due to various reasons. But this is may just be a nail in the coffin if the Congress party doesn't take this issue very seriously.
And Anand, with so many Congress leaders going to the BJP, is there a process that the BJP is following right now to induct these people? Is there a filter in that sense?
Yeah, so the new joining committee, like I said, I used the word bridge. This is the word the BJP leaders use, that they call this a bridge, because the BJP leaders have said that they do not go out of their way and woo these people to come join the party. It's in fact the other way around, and that the Congress party is sort of like desperately trying to jump ship and join them, right? So you have a committee in each district and there are 3 members who are usually made up of MPs, MLAs or like some very senior BJP leaders. What they make sure is that one, you're not a BJP turncoat, that you were not a BJP member who left the party and spoke out against the party. Like there was this section of the BJP leaders have told me that Deepak Joshi, who is the son of the former Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Kailash Joshi, stalwart for BJP leader and a founding member, his son had quit the BJP during the assembly election. And after his son had quit, there were 2-3 other leaders who quit. And then, Amit Shah eventually was dispatched and he had to take control of the elections. And, so he tried to return to the party, apparently. And the BJP said no. So they ensure that, that BJP leaders who left them, betrayed them and spoke out against the party don't return. Second, they try to ensure that it's relatively clean candidates with clean records. And they also make sure that there is an ideological wavelength which is sort of like matching, to quote BJP leaders, they should be ready to work for Ram and Rajya. So basically work for Ram and work under Narendra Modi's guidance and leadership. So if there are opportunists who are trying to sneak in, and there have been talk of like former Congress ministers who try to switch to the party and the BJP closed its doors on them. So, the BJP tells us that, you guys just keep looking at the 16,000 figure, but what you guys are probably not seeing is just the number of people we keep rejecting.
And next we talk about Indian high-yielding paddy seeds reaching Pakistan. Through years of research, scientists at IARI or the Indian Agricultural Research Institute have developed high-yielding varieties of paddy seeds that have led to some of the best varieties of Basmati rice. Rice that is superior in quality and has a much shorter cultivation period. But recently our scientists have found out that these seeds have illegally made their way to Pakistan and that our neighbor is exploiting this situation to its advantage. This problem became evident after the emergence of promotional YouTube videos which highlighted the recently released IARI varieties. These videos were uploaded by Pakistani seed companies located in areas like Multan, Bahawalnagar and Hafizabad.
मैं इस वक्त मलक शाहिद वान साहब जो हमारे बहुत अच्छे प्रोग्रेसिव फार्मर हैं उनके फार्म पे खड़ा हूँ और इस वक्त मेरे सामने PB7 एक एरोमेटिक वैरायटी जो क्लेम की जा रही है वो है जब हम एक्सपोर्ट के लिए
To know more about these varieties of rice and how Pakistan using them affects India, Indian Express's Rural Affairs editor Harish Damodaran joins us today. So Harish, begin by talking about India's Basmati rice and the high-yielding variety seeds they are cultivated from.
See, India traditionally grew what is called the traditional tall varieties of rice, which is what were being grown. Varieties like Taraudi, Deraduni, but these were tall and they would lodge because of the height, The moment they accumulated some grain, they would just fall, So the yields were very low and they took long time, So over a period of say 155, 160 days, they would yield, maybe 1 ton per acre. Okay. Then scientists at the Indian Agricultural Research Institute, which we know it better as PUSA Institute, they started breeding semi-dwarf varieties, which were shorter and at the same time didn't take such a long time to mature. So the yields were very high. So the first such improved variety which was released was in 1989. It was called Pusa Basmati 1. And that created a kind of a revolution, because the yields went up, So instead of 1 ton, you could get about, say, 2.5 tons. Okay. And plus it would mature in, 135, 140 days. So because of that, India's exports started increasing, So I would say that the first revolution came through Pusa Basmati 1. Then we had this wonder variety called Pusa 1121. And its yields were slightly below Pusa Basmati 1, but the grain quality was very unique, in terms of the elongation, with 1 cup you could cook. The cooked rice would expand, say, 4 times, So this created a revolution. It was called Pusa 1121 and there's a company called KRBL. And they created a special brand called India Gate Classic.
India Gate Classic Basmati Rice देता है गारंटी आपकी खुशियों की और आपकी तारीफ की भी क्योंकि ये तैयार होता है.
And that's how it became very famous and it really took over the export market, especially in Saudi Arabia, Iran, etc., because it was value for money. Because with 1 cup, you could make, 4 cups of biryani, So I would say that Pusa 1121 was the one which really, gave a huge push to India's exports. Our exports, I think, almost quadrupled because of Pusa 1121.
And to what extent has this been benefiting India? What would you say has been the economic impact of these rice varieties?
So both our yields have gone up from 1 ton to say about 2.5 tons. And the duration from 155, 160 days to 115, 120 days. Earlier, the farmers who grew Basmati, they couldn't sow wheat after that because of the length of the duration. Okay. So because of that. But now we started growing, shorter duration. So because of all this, the research, the breeding of these new varieties is what has made India, a Basmati superpower, you can say, we went miles ahead of our immediate neighbor, that is Pakistan, So I think last year our Basmati rice exports came to something like it was valued at about $4.8 billion. And this year we could do probably, about $5.5, which will be about something like, say, 45,000 crore. That is the value of the Basmati. And if you see in terms of the total quantity, I think India's basmati production this year is going to be something like 13 million tons of paddy. And if you take an average value of say 4,000 rupees, which is what farmers have got, so it is something like 50,000 crore, which is going just to Indian farmers, So in short, today you have basmati, which generates about 50,000 crore plus revenues to farmers, and it generates export revenues of something like, say, 45,000 crore, about $5.5 billion. And all this is thanks to the Pusa varieties, because about 90% of the basmati you see today is all the varieties which have been bred by the scientists in IARI. So it's all Pusa, so you can call it Pusa Basmati 1, Pusa 1509, Pusa 1121. And the scientists have been continuously improving on these varieties,
Right. And you mentioned Pakistan. Now we understand that these high-yielding variety seeds, which have generated a lot for India and Indian farmers, have made their way illegally to Pakistan. So tell us more about that.
See, now what has happened is the varieties which India has bred, it has now made its way to Pakistan. And Pakistan is growing these varieties illegally because these have been bred by IARI, and IARI has the intellectual property rights on this variety, And IARI has bred this for Indian farmers. But now all these varieties are now being grown in Pakistan. And it's not very difficult. See, to grow 1 acre, you need about just 5 kg of seeds. So anybody could have come by, say, Samjhauta Express, or gone to, say, Narela Mandi and just got a few, handful of seeds. And you take it to Pakistan and then you grow it. So 1121 they have taken and they have registered it as 1121 Kenath, So Kenath means cosmos, the universe. So they have registered it. They have even taken 1509 and they are calling it Kisan Basmati. And plus even some of the improved varieties which I was talking about, 1847, 1885, which are improved versions of 1121 and 1509. So Pakistan has started growing them also.
And could you talk about in what ways is this piracy concerning India and how did we get to know about it in the very first place?
So I think our scientists got to know it because a lot of these YouTube videos started surfacing, where people, in Multan, in Rawalpindi, in all these places, they started saying, these are the varieties, these are excellent varieties, and coming out and giving full gyan, on how to grow them, what is the thing. So when these videos started surfacing, I think that is when our scientists started getting worried, because after all, so much of hard work goes into breeding, it's not easy. And someone just steals it without any work, they steal it. So the scientists are concerned, our exporters are also equally concerned, because Pakistan could very well do like what they have done in Europe. As I said, the advantages they have is the cheap variety, the cheap currency. And now they are getting our varieties, stealing, piracy. And once they also have, just like India, their mills also can install parboiling facilities, So definitely this is a threat in the long run. And I believe that India should take action because otherwise scientists put in so much of research, to develop a variety, it takes years. You do the crossing, then you have to select from the subsequent generations. It is a lot of hard work. So it cannot be that Indian scientists do all the breeding and hard work and somebody else reaps the results. I mean, literally reaping. So we should not allow it.
And Harish, at the moment, in what way is Pakistan different from India when it comes to the kind of rice they export?
So, see, Pakistan has basically done better than India in capturing the European market. In the European Union and in the UK, their entire market is about, say, 300,000 tons. And they allow only import of brown rice. That is the unpolished rice, they allow imports at zero duty. And Pakistan has captured that market. They have about a share of about, say, 60 to 70% share is what Pakistan has, I think this year it has gone up to about something like 80% plus. And one reason is because, their rupee has really fallen. I think the Pakistani rupee is something like, some 280 rupees to a dollar, whereas ours is, 83 rupees. Okay. So because of the cheap Pakistani rupee, they have been able to capture the European market. But the real big market for basmati rice, export market, is the Middle East. Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, United Arab Emirates. This is a huge market. And where India has I won't say a monopoly, but a near monopoly. And there are two reasons for it. One reason, as I said, it has to do with Pusa 112 and, the improved varieties. Pakistan has not been able to breed those kind of varieties which India has bred. So that is one reason, because we have good varieties. And number two, all our mills basically have facilities for parboiling. In parboiling, what the mills do is you soak the paddy even before milling and then you partially boil it. And that leads to more hard rice. The rice is stronger. It will suffer less breakage, And in the Middle East, etc., they cook for long, the biryani, etc. So when you cook for long and you use parboiled rice, it doesn't break. So these two reasons. One is our better varieties, the improved varieties, which give you value for the volume. So number one, good varieties like Pusa 112 and Pusa 1509, etc. And number two, because we are able to export parboiling rice.
Okay, so Harish, with these seeds now having illegally crossed the border, Pakistan hopes to capture the Middle Eastern market. Now, you earlier said that India should take action. So talk about what it can do in this regard.
So one thing which we can do is go to the European market, seize some samples, look at whatever the rice is being sold and match it with our varieties, because I think we need to tell the world that this is our rice and this rice has been taken away from us. This is piracy. You cannot steal intellectual property rights. I cannot steal Apple's design and all these things. All these have protection, right? So similar to that. So I think the government needs to be very proactive. Our All India Rice Exporters Association, the APIDA, Agriculture and Processed Food Export Development Authority. All these people should be, alert, and we should make sure that any such rice which is selling, it cannot be a Pakistani company. And I think we need to tell the world that this is our rice. Otherwise, there is a danger. And it is good that, we have spotted the danger immediately before it becomes a much bigger phenomenon, So the surfacing of these YouTube videos and all, it has come at the right time. This is the time when, we can put Pakistan on notice. You breed your varieties. You invest in breeding. Nobody is stopping you from doing research. You come out with varieties, but you cannot steal somebody else's varieties.
And in the end, we talk about BJP fielding Arun Govil. Last week, BJP named Arun Govil, the actor who played Lord Ram in Ramanand Sagar's Ramayan, as its candidate for the upcoming Lok Sabha elections from Meerut, the actor's birthplace and the electorally crucial Western Uttar Pradesh region. This will be Govil's electoral debut. Ever since he played the lead role in the television series Ramayan nearly 4 decades ago, Arun Govil has been the face of Lord Ram. However, what is perhaps lesser known among the fans who used to light incense during Ramanand Sagar's widely popular teleseries back in the late 1980s is that Govil was initially rejected for the role of the epic hero. To learn more about Arun Govil, how his life changed after playing Lord Ram, and why fielding him this year is of significance for the BJP, we have Indian Express's Dipanita Nath joining us in this segment. Dipanita, for those who might not have seen the show growing up, especially our younger listeners, could you talk about just how popular Ramanand Sagar's Ramayan was?
Most of the young crowd would not have known about the show because it started being telecast in 1987. And modern television has absolutely no parallels to what happened at that time. So it's actually quite difficult to describe what happened to India when Ramayan began to be telecast. So Ramanand Sagar introduced the story of Ram to our television screens. Until then, people had read the books and listened to radio programs, watched plays. But suddenly, you were able to see the life of Ram being screened right at home. So effectively, the whole of India stopped whatever it was doing on Sunday mornings. The television series were wildly popular. Roads used to be empty of traffic. Shopkeepers would pull down shutters. Even playgrounds were empty. And the important thing was that there were no divides. Everybody across religions, regions, sections were watching this show. In fact, many people would garland their TV sets and light agarbatti before their screens. I remember I had a teacher, she was my Hindi teacher, and absolutely, she was phenomenally strict. But one day in class, she told us to watch Ramayan, and she was talking about that on Sunday she had visited some friends, and she said, "Mujhe nahi jana chahiye tha." Because it was the time of Ramayan, and that family, they had woken up in the morning, taken a shower, worn clean clothes, and they were about to start Ramayan. And now the thing is that my teacher was Christian and that family was Muslim. So there were things like this that were happening. And Sunday mornings were meant for Ramayan at that time. It was like a worship for so many people.
And we know, of course, that Arun Govil was the one who played Lord Ram. How did the role change his life and career?
Do we know of Arun Govil as anything else but Ram? And for the last 40 years, there has been no other actor who's even come close to capturing our imagination as the face of Ram. So, when I spoke to Arun Govilji, he said that everything that happens has a good and a bad side. So the good side is that he became a legend. The negative side was that he stayed as Ram. Now, what happened was that at the time that he was doing Ramayan, Arun Govil was a rising star in Bollywood. He had already done 4 films with Rajshri Productions, and in 2 of these, Sawan Ko Aane Do and Saach Ko Aach Nahi, he was the lead actor. Both these films were wildly successful. Then in 1985, he was cast as King Vikram in the television series Vikram aur Betal. Once again, very successful. But that was the time that he heard that the Sagars who had made Vikram and Betal, they were also going to make Ramayan for Doordarshan. Now, Arun Govilji says that he felt this inner desire to play Ram. And he did. Now, the interesting thing here is also that his family and friends discouraged him because they said that, a religious series would not work, that he would get typecast and it would affect his chances in Bollywood. But he stayed on course. Well, so he himself told me, that sometimes he used to wonder, why am I known only for this role and not for others? And he said that after Ramayan, he started getting the same type of roles because he had been typecast as a character. But then again, he stopped smoking because people were coming and touching his feet and he didn't want them to see him with a cigarette. And he also said that if people are showering me with the kind of love many actors aspire for, is it necessary for me to smoke, drink and attend parties? And, even recently, Arun Govilji played a prime minister modeled on Narendra Modi in Article 370. But, to our minds, he's Ram.
Now, this year, what we can see is that Govil will be making his electoral debut from the Meerut seat in Uttar Pradesh. So, talk about what makes his selection so significant this year.
See, the issue of Ram is paramount in these elections and in the larger context of Indian politics. The Ram temple was consecrated by the Prime Minister on January 22nd. This is a key issue for the ruling party in the Lok Sabha polls. It is in this context that Arun Govilji's selection by the BJP assumes significance. To many of our minds, he is Sri Ram. So if you look at the two contexts, the significance becomes very clear.
भाव तो देखिए है इस समय पूरा देश पूरा विश्व जो है वो राममय है ना, और रामलला का मंदिर बना है इतने सालों की जद्दोजहद के बाद, तो ओवरऑल माहौल बहुत एनर्जेटिक है, बहुत अच्छी ऊर्जा है। वो ऊर्जा जो भगवान राम के जो हमें देते हैं, वो ऊर्जा, उस ऊर्जा से हमारा देश इस समय बिल्कुल ओतप्रोत है। तो अच्छा लग रहा है, बिल्कुल हर चीज पॉजिटिव नजर आती है इस समय।
And has the party selected candidates in a similar way before as well?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, Arvind Trivedi, who is a Gujarati film actor, he had played Ravan and went by the name Lankesh. He won his debut election, and in 1996, he lost the seat to a Congress candidate, Nisha Chaudhary, who was the wife of former Gujarat Chief Minister Amar Singh Chaudhary. Then Deepika, who played Sita, she's also a Gujarati actor. She was elected on the BJP ticket from Vadodara in 1991. So yes, it has happened before.
And Dipanita, you had the opportunity to speak to Arun Govil himself. So what were some of the highlights of your chat with him?
I remember something he said, and this was way back in 2019, that becomes particularly significant now. There was this play that was being held. It was called The Legend of Ram, which was made by Atul Satyakaushik, in which Arun Govil returned after 30 years to play Ram. And he returned to theatre after ages. So there's a line towards the end of the play when Sri Ramji says, Praja ke hit ke aage Raja shunya ho jata hai, which means a king has no personal agenda beyond whatever benefits his subjects. Now, when I was talking to Arun Govilji, he said, this is true even today. It's a positive message to politicians. Don't members of parliament have any responsibility towards the lakhs of voters who have elected them? Is it enough to just win an election? So when one of Ram's subjects raises a finger of suspicion at Sita, Ram's duty is first as a king, and he acts accordingly. Now, so if you look at that, it means that Arun Govilji's sense of duty, long before he formally even joined the BJP, his idea of politics also seems to be drawn from the Ramayan.
You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by Shashank Bhargava and me, Niharika Nanda. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.